Sam Bankman-Fried guilty on all 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy.
The cryptocurrency industry might be new. The players like Sam Bankman-Fried might be new. But this kind of fraud, this kind of corruption is as old as time.
The most famous fall from grace in cryptocurrency is that of Sam Bankman-Fried and the second largest crypto exchange in the world, FTX, which collapsed in 2022, causing massive ripples across crypto and other industries. Around $9 billion of customer money was lost in the process. But behind, or maybe ahead of FTX and Bankman-Fried in almost every way, is the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, and its charismatic founder, Changpeng Zhao, or CZ. After all, it was CZ himself who tweeted on November 6th that Binance was selling all of its FTT tokens in light of new information, a tweet that caused a run on FTX. It was Binance who said on November 8th that they would buy FTX's non-US business and bail them out, only to change their mind after seeing the books and announce the next day they weren't going through with the deal based on their due diligence, which led to even more withdrawals from FTX. The FTX saga is more or less over. Bankman-Fried faces potentially over 100 years in prison, and Binance walked away largely unscathed. But even as FTX was falling apart, an investigation was underway that would bring about its own reckoning for Binance and CZ. As criminal investigators and regulators around the world were painting a picture of how Binance became a global hub for the flow of illegal drugs and weapons, a haven for scammers and money launderers, and a safe place to fund organizations like Hamas, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda. The choice to avoid so many compliance laws defined what crypto was. In the aftermath, will decide what it can be. Zhao reportedly encountered Bitcoin during a game of poker and became so interested in crypto that he spent the next several years working at various crypto companies. In 2017, he founded Binance in Shanghai with a clear mission, saying to his employees, quote, "Do everything to increase our market share and nothing else." Binance grew quickly, attracting investors and traders to the exchange. In fact, they attracted all sorts of clients due to how quickly and simply you could make an account. For years, all you needed to make an account on Binance was an email address, which didn't need to be verified with any kind of identification. Binance headquarters itself jumped around to avoid regulations from China to Japan to Malta, and then, in the now famous words of CZ,
"So you have to have an office. Wherever I sit, it's going to be the Binance office."
The results of these lax compliant requirements was a massive amount of money traveling through Binance, either as a result of or on the way to criminal activity. Hydra was a Russian darknet website that allowed you to buy illegal drugs, among other things, with Bitcoin. As early as 2018, users of Hydra were posting on forums recommending Binance for the ease and anonymity it offered. From 2017 to 2022, when Hydra was shut down, it's estimated that Binance was used for around $780 million of payments on the platform. Binance also became a safe landing spot for scammers and money launderers to clean money. In an internal chat in 2019, one Binance employee said, quote, "Is washing drug money too hard these days? Come to Binance. We got cake for you." In 2020, the crypto exchange Etherbase announced it had been hacked by the North Korean group Lazarus, and more than $5 million had been stolen. Etherbase reached out to Binance for help, and were told Binance couldn't do anything without a law enforcement request. It wasn't until July of 2021 and 2 law enforcement requests later that Binance produced any records on accounts linked to the hack, which showed that the accounts had been empty for over 9 months, and the assets had been instantly traded. The hackers were able to create accounts on Binance with fake email addresses, with names like Benjamin Franklin and Gareth Bale, and used VPNs to hide their location. Etherbase went bankrupt and had to close as a result of the hack. Its customers who were affected have yet to be reimbursed. And best guesses think that the money stolen by Lazarus likely went to fund parts of North Korea's nuclear program. This is just one of the many hacks and scams that flowed through Binance. In the Department of Justice's press release of the settlement with Binance, they stated, Binance willfully failed to report well over 100,000 suspicious transactions that it processed as a result of its deficient controls, including transactions involving terrorist organizations, ransomware, child sexual exploitation material, frauds, and scams. From 2017 to 2021, when Binance finally upped their KYC requirements, it's estimated that Binance processed at least $2.35 billion stemming from criminal activity. While all of this was happening on Binance's main platform, the company was trying to sort through another issue: how to get greater market share in the United States. Due to regulations in the United States, Binance couldn't onboard US clients onto the main site without attracting the scrutiny of US regulators, which would prevent them from having the lax compliance rules that help them grow. With the help of an outside consultant, CZ approved a plan in 2018 to set up a new US entity and close off the main Binance site to US customers. Officially, the US exchange would be a completely separate entity, with a different leadership team solely for US customers. Due to increased regulations, Binance.US lacked some of the features of the main exchange and had much stricter KYC and compliance requirements. The truth, however, is that Binance.US was a de facto subsidiary of the main exchange. It was overseen by Zhao and existed primarily to distract US regulators from the rest of the business, but leave a loophole. US customers could still access the main exchange with greater liquidity and range of products by using a VPN. Despite all this, CZ became frustrated with the slow rate of growth of Binance.US. He started urging Catherine Coley, the CEO at the time, to lessen requirements and onboard more customers. Reportedly, they butt heads over this for several months until Coley suddenly quit in 2020. She was replaced by Brian Brooks, a former US banking regulator who also quit after just 3 months. Finally, CZ hired someone who shared his vision. Binance.US hired Brian Schroeder, whose main focus was to reform the compliance department and sign up as many users as quickly as possible. Ex-employees report being screamed and cussed at by Schroeder for asking questions about compliance. In the first 6 months, 10 compliance employees quit over concerns with the new requirements. All this time, the CFTC was looking into Binance. In March 2023, they brought charges against Binance for violating US anti-money laundering and sanctions laws. CZ pled guilty and agreed to step down as CEO. He faces a $50 million fine. Binance will pay $4.3 billion, one of the largest corporate settlements in US history. In addition, they have agreed to be overseen by a third-party monitor, go through extensive changes to how they manage compliance, and leave the US market entirely. Unlike FTX, it seems that Binance has more than enough cash in reserve to handle the fine and the short-lived rush to withdraw funds that happened after the announcement. For now, Binance will live to fight another day. The real question is, what does this mean for crypto? In a way, the situation with FTX was much simpler. Bankman-Fried had simply stolen customer funds, and much of it was just gone. The situation with Binance may take much longer to sort out. For the first time since its creation, Binance will be subject to intense scrutiny from the inside. Part of their mandate is to review and flag every suspicious transaction they missed in the last 5 years. This process will certainly lead to hundreds or thousands of accounts being flagged or frozen. Customers will need to pass much more stringent KYC requirements in order to open an account, and newly flagged suspicious transactions may trickle down, so customers unknowingly in possession of crypto once used in a crime may see their accounts investigated or frozen, possibly affecting people's businesses or investments. In fact, the future of Binance itself comes with a few question marks. Since the settlement, Binance has experienced over $1 billion in withdrawals, losing about 25% of their market share from earlier this year. There may be another more serious long-term consequence. Binance and its customers will be under tight scrutiny from the US government for at least the next 5 years, meaning that not only is Binance going to lose its criminal customers, a large portion of the flow of money through the exchange, but it will also likely lose any customer who doesn't want their information shared with the US government. In the crypto space, that number is likely to be quite large. Between them, FTX and Binance, the two largest exchanges in the world at one time, have been shown to be guilty of a mountain of illegal, or at least suspect behavior that continues to generate many questions about how the crypto industry is meant to function. Coinbase, the largest exchange in the US, was also sued by the SEC for not properly following regulations. Crypto was supposed to be a revolution, an anonymous, decentralized, instant way of moving and investing money outside of the traditional banking space. But as we have seen with FTX and Binance, the very thing that was supposed to make crypto revolutionary is also what makes it impossible to fully adopt. Without proper regulations, it is far too easy for criminals to funnel money through exchanges, and for the people running the exchanges to use that money for nefarious purposes of their own. Whether Binance survives or not, this year may be seen in hindsight as the real birth of crypto. The time when the asset class was finally able to find widespread, legitimate legal uses, where banks were no longer terrified to have anything to do with crypto, and where it could become integrated fully with the greater economy. The irony is that the integration into traditional economics is in stark opposition to the original use cases for crypto, but yet is likely the only way it can survive and thrive. Can the regulators save crypto? Or will they simply change it into something it was never meant to be?